it's a joy to be here. And the lovely Ginat has been after my tail for years. And every time I say, Ginat, I promise I'm so sorry, next time. You know, everyone's life is so busy. We all have so much to do every day. And since COVID in particular, I've been doing a huge amount of food delivery because we have to keep reinventing ourselves. So there's only me washing, cooking, prepping, shopping, delivering, washing, cooking. Plus, you know, we all have busy lives. We work with students, we do health counselling and everything. So when Ginat said this time, and I said to Bill, I absolutely must have to say yes. So here I am, thank you, Ginat, and I'm always excited to share my passion for the world. And of course, my message today is go vegan, it's easy. So if I can share my screen, is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, and let me get my PowerPoint up. Okay, it's working okay, yeah?
Yeah, great.
So thank you everybody for being here to listen to my little message for the world that is my passion. And a little background really, health, animals and nature are really at the heart of everything that I've taught since I was, I don't know, in the last 40 years anyway. Go vegan for me is just the most simple concept, and it's the best choice for our struggling planet. So when we have a strong foundation, when the winds of change come, because the winds of change are coming, I mean, we can all feel it, right? And so it's of paramount importance. And I hope today, over the next half hour or so, that maybe I make you excited, maybe I give you some insights that you think, I can do that, that's not a problem. Because that's really what my whole life's purpose is about, is to help others to have the most incredible energy, the best health, feel a connection with, you know, where our food comes from. And I know many of you do the same. So I think for me, people think going vegan is difficult because they get into their head, but it's really so simple, because I say to students and clients, what do? You just take the animal food out and you put more plants in. And if you think about it, most people are already eating beans and some grain and vegetables and fruits and nuts. So it's not that complicated. And if I could come and stir the pot for everybody in the world, trust me, I would be out there doing it. I would be stirring everybody's pot and saying, taste, how delicious. It's amazing. So common sense tells us, of course, that if we refuse to pay for animal products, then we stop the demand and sales would plummet and things would start to change. And I'm sure you all know that the industrial food systems have reduced our food to things, just things that we can take off a shelf that is produced in a laboratory. And 75% of the destruction of the soil, the water, the biodiversity, it's coming from the industrial agriculture. And I'm sure you're all aware of this, but you know, it contributes even as much as 50% of the greenhouse gases. Now you'll see there's all sorts of numbers bandied about. And this week in Glasgow, up in Scotland, the COP26, there was some speaker on from the FDA, and he put the industrial agriculture from animal farming down at 9% with greenhouse gases. It's so outrageous. I was shouting at the computer, you know. So it's all about, you know, using our voices to help how we can create this wonderful world that is our passion in macrobiotics for one peaceful world. And like myself, I'm sure you're all the same. When we feel this connection to something out with ourselves, something bigger than who we are, our brothers and sisters in the world are starving. Our brothers and sisters in the world are eating themselves to death, you know. So we've got to find this homeostasis, this balance. And, you know, I think the only thing in my life that's ever made sense to me is the 5 transformations of energy, which I discovered when I was 17, TCM. It's just the most simple form of understanding life. So, you know, the vegan approach, it's not new, we all know. for centuries, since the times of Pythagoras and Leo Tolstoy, George Bernard Shaw, Isaac Bashevis Singer, Bashevis Singer, all these amazing people. You know, you don't need to be a Nobel Prize winner to get the message, and that's what excites me, because every time someone comes to Bill and I, whether it's a student or a client or whatever, they don't come to us to become vegan, but ultimately they actually do. And that's what's so exciting about the work that we do. Now, I have been a yoga teacher for a long, long time, in my 20s. And, you know, I do a lot of work for yoga magazines, yoga journals. I speak to yoga groups, because they're preaching ahimsa, but they're not really living the ahimsa word. And I'm sure you all know that, you know, it's a form of Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism. And the passion of ahimsa is to do no harm to any other being. So I reach out to every area where I can possibly try and make people, you know, see the bigger picture. And I have to say I have huge success, because I'm now working with a group in India who actually, the man lives in Canada, and he started running this India-Canadian concept, which is fantastic. So now I'm teaching some people in India about vegetarianism and veganism, and the difference being that vegan is what ahimsa is and not vegetarianism. So that's very exciting to me, and I keep going. So I'm indeed blessed to have so many amazing friends and colleagues over the decades. Many I'm sure you'll know on the screen here, and many of them are on our advisory board of Bill and I's Human Ecology Project that we actually wrote back in 2003, and it's taken us this time to actually really get it out, because there's always so many other things to be doing. And you know, all these people are just fantastic. They're professors of law and animal rights, and oceanographers and scientists, and you know, I'm sure you'll know them all. Their work is commendable, and I admire every one of them. But for me, the most important special 18 member is my 95-year-old vegan mama, who is my biggest fan. And that is why I called my latest book Go Vegan, because Mommy's always saying, I mean, why do they not go vegan? Why don't they listen to you? And of course, Mum being Mum, you know, she loves my work and she adores my passion, because this is not about not having, we have friends, family that are not vegan. We love everybody. This is about trying to educate people and bring them into our gang, as we call it, or my army, as I call it. So Mum at 95, believe it or not, tells everybody why they have to go vegan. So, you know, that for me is very, very special. Now, we all have different motivation. It could be, is it your health? Look at the disease in the world. I mean, tomorrow alone, I have 3 consultations with people with cancer, and it's so sad. And I hope in every day of my life, I can help people to understand that, you know, when they go back to the source, we start to educate. Now, when I do a consultation, I am a complete geek for all sorts of information on science, how the body works. I don't just give people recipes. I want people to understand how the liver works and what happens with the bile, and people love it. They really love it, because for me, knowledge is power, and you can educate yourself for the rest of your life. So, you know, my message to all who come for counselling is non-communicable diseases in particular are killing humans daily. Now, that might not be your motivation to go vegan. It might be the environment. And think about our animal kingdom. Up to 80 billion animals are slaughtered every year. I mean, the number is just so insane. It's unbelievable. And at any time on the planet, there's something like the combined total of chickens and cows and pigs living at any one time is 3 times higher than the number of people. It's just beyond belief. So if it's not the environment, how about your motivation? Is it, sorry, whoops, something happening. Mum just came back up there, that's fine. Perhaps your motivation is the environment, because we all know nature's in jeopardy, you know, and we all have to take action. And all of us living organisms, animal, plants, you know, humans, we all exist as an unconnected part of the natural whole. So one of these 3 areas is where everyone's concerned, but the top one is always the health, and that's fine. That's where people come. They don't come to me because they're wanting to save the environment or they want to save the animals. They come for their health. That's great. But then when they become vegan, they do all three, and that's even better. So my own story, we all have a story, who we are, how did we get to where we are in our life? Why am I teaching what I teach? Well, you know, when I was a wee girl, I wouldn't eat meat. So mummy fed me so much dairy food. By the time I was 9, I had appendicitis. I had my appendix removed. I nearly died with peritonitis. I had my tonsils and adenoids removed. I had my gallbladder removed. Think about all these little things in the body that are actually part of your immune system. Now, I swear, and you can ask Bill Tara, I'm 65 next year. I have energy like someone in my 30s. I don't know what it is to have a cold or a sneeze for decades, and I don't have all these parts in my body. They're all missing. So where do I get my health, you know? I mean, it's beyond exciting to me to tell people, because when people come for health counselling, they think, well, you know, what would she know about being ill? What would she know about ill health? I know, and that one of the reasons why I stopped using oil decades ago was because I don't have a gallbladder, which is another story. But you know, we're all products of our experiences of life. And when I was a very young teenager, I came across Dennis Burkitt. If you've never read this book, you should buy it. It's just a fantastic book. And of course, for me, you know, lacking in fibre hugely with chronic constipation as a child, Dennis Burkitt was my hero. You know, he was actually a surgeon that trained in Edinburgh in Scotland, went out to Uganda. If you don't know of his work, you should read his work. It's just phenomenal. And he wondered, oh, there must be a special hospital for cancer people because there's nobody here with cancer. And because there wasn't any cancer. So it's a fantastic book. And I would encourage all of you to look into Dr. Dennis Burkitt's work because it was just so phenomenal. So how do we create harmony within our ecosystem? Well, there's 4 areas here that we need to all connect the dots with. And I like to always make the analogy of a tree. And I'm this tree and I'm growing in healthy soil and I'm receiving beautiful, balanced nourishment through the external roots that come and feed me. And if we think about the small intestine, you know, that's where we take the nourishment from our food. So that's internal. We take it internally, the tree takes it externally. So with that in mind, if we kill the soil outside, we kill the soil inside. So we're killing out there and we're killing in here at the one time. I hope that makes sense because it makes such sense to me. Soil and man are not separate. I'm sure you all hear that many times from macrobiotic people. Then you think about the ecological crisis I've already spoken about, looking at a toxic diet, how it's creating huge imbalance in personal health and our relationship to nature. And then the cultural philosophy, you know, if we think about civilization, really think about civilization, it refers to one that, you know, our relationship to nature, our spiritual wealth by following the objective principle of whatever we need to do that obtains this material and development of humankind, because nature and society, mankind and society, we coexist in harmony with all. So that's how we create our ecosystem, whether it's in our own home, whether it's with the next door neighbours, whether it's outside, whatever, that's how we do it. That's how I do it. So I'm sure, I don't know how many of you are vegan. If you're not, then it's very exciting for me to be chatting to you today because you might even consider it and think about going vegan. But the one question everybody always says, well, where do you get your protein? All the time, never fails. And of course, we all know protein's a macronutrient. It's essential building blocks of the body. I could show you the muscles in my leg. I'm like an athlete in terms of muscle mass because I teach yoga and stuff. But even so, you know, I've only been eating plants. I haven't had animal food in over, well, I don't know, 25 years more. But the one thing that always makes me smile when people ask me is, you know, and I would like to retort back and say, well, you know, chemically protein is composed of amino acids and which are organic compounds. But most people wouldn't know an amino acid if it came up and said, hi Marlene, hi Gana, I'm an amino acid. They wouldn't know, you know, so they don't even understand the concept of what protein is. And that's why I always say to our students and clients, when you are so versed in knowledge of nutrition, or you have the power, knowledge is power. And that's why I encourage everybody to always have your answers ready. You know, I think someone was asking earlier about nutritional yeast when I tuned in, and it's the same, you know, I get 100 million questions every day. Be ready, be certain in what you're talking about, and you know, you'll dumbfound them every time, because you don't need protein. They don't even know what amino acids are. So when Bill and I were living in Galway, and we were teaching at the institute there for a few years, and all these farmers, we were in you can imagine the dairy food and everything out there. Anyway, all these farmers, bless their cotton socks, they came to our workshops. They all went vegan, I swear. I mean, it was one of the most successful periods, a couple of years of our life there with people, but of course we all had ill health, hemochromatosis. I mean, the dairy food out there is just unbelievable. Now, these pigs belong to the farmer, and then I saved them and they became my friend. And I have to tell you something, if you've never had a personal relationship with pigs, it's the most incredible thing. They're such beautiful animals, and you know, they snuggle up, they play, they sing when they're nursing their young. It was just a life-changing experience for me, because I had never been that close to these animals before. Even although I grew up in a farm in Scotland in the countryside, I was never involved so much in animals in this way. And you know, people say, oh, they eat like pigs and, you know, they pig out. No, pigs are beautiful creatures. They savor their food. They don't bite and swallow like us humans. We don't even chew, you know. So I'm a pig lover, and they're all still living in pastures out there, having a wonderful time. And the vegan farmers are growing crops and all sorts. So it was just a wonderful experience. Now, we all know changing your diet rarely occurs along the path of least resistance. Everyone's always like, no, I can't do it. Well, maybe I could do it before 6. Maybe I could try, you know, 2 days a week, you know. And most of you would agree that we eat too much, we move too little, and we feel stressed all the time. But when you're eating a plant-based diet, a vegan diet, you actually don't, you know. So there's so many exciting facts about going vegan, and, you know, until I take my last breath, I hope I can teach this work for the rest of my life, because I'm so blessed to be able to do this. And I make this little mantra up, and no matter where we're teaching, Bill and I were doing a fantastic event with Michael Clapper and some other friends from the States. We're over in Queen Mary University in London. Now, there were over 200 doctors and surgeons and dentists in the audience. I had them all on their feet singing, "Food makes the blood." And Donna Clifford, you were singing this with me out in the Berkshires, were you not? You see, so sometimes you're listening to people and something will trigger you. And I hope if that's the only thing you remember today, remember it today, because that's who we are. Everything we put in our mouth, as you all know, it's who we are the next day. Now, vegan athletes, I don't need to tell you, they're growing all over the world. Why are they at the top of their game? Well, because there's so many reasons. Because they're not eating animal foods that clog their arteries with saturated fats and, you know, result in impaired pain. Because they heal quicker, they're less acidic in their bodies. Because the anti-inflammatory diet that is plant-based nutrition, and I know because I've worked with quite a few athletes myself, and they can't believe the effect, they can't believe the difference when they change their diet. So, you know, that's a plus for young people. It's something that I use a lot when we're teaching, you know, younger kids at school and university. And I want to move on a little bit now, because I could talk about fitness and athletes for ages. But the one thing that's very, very important is that diversity, as you know, huge importance. And when I see the food that people are eating, it just horrifies me. Sometimes I'm in the supermarket and I'm looking at mum and dad and 3 or 4 kids, and I'm not fat shaming or shaming people, and I look in their trolleys and I want to say, why don't you go and put all that back and come with me and I'll show you what to buy, because you'll have incredible health and you'll save money in your bill and your food bills, and you won't, and you know, they're all overweight. And you know, I feel this connection with people. that I would go and stir the pot for free if I could help them. I mean, seriously, it's just beyond me. And no matter where Bill and I go now, when we came back to the UK at first, honestly, it was about 7 or 8 years since we'd been here. And even in the 7 or 8 years, it looked as if people had been blown up. I couldn't believe how big people had even become over here. It was just incredible to me. So we look at the industrial food systems, and you know, we look at what's happening, and you all know this, but if we could grow vegan food only, we would be able to grow 17 times much more food than we could by growing animal food or growing plants to feed animals. 2 months ago, this interesting call came from, I don't know, somebody through Facebook connected me. It was a woman from Brazil who was in London. Sorry to digress, but I thought it was an interesting story to share. And she said, Marlene, I've been following your work for years, and I'm in London, I'm a photographer, and my mother and I want to come, can we have a cooking class? And I said, yeah, absolutely. And they came and they had a consultation in class. So I had some miso broth ready, as I always do when people arrive. And she was horrified, like, how dare you ruin my country with this soybean? You're ruining the whole of Brazil. And I mean, I thought, she lives in Brazil. 97% of the soybeans that are grown are fed to animals. 97%, only 3% of soybeans are used for humans. And she couldn't believe it. So, I mean, what does it tell you? Knowledge. It's got to be education. It's the only chance we have for changing the world. But to get back to my story, 17 times more food per acre with plants. I mean, that's phenomenal. Vegetables store well. They don't grow microbes in terms of what happens with animal food. Vegans save over 1,100 gallons of water a day. Even if you're showering twice or 3 times a day, you still do. They cut their carbon footprint by half. I mean, I could go on and on all day about the good news about going vegan. There's nothing negative about it, unless, of course, you're eating a vegan crap processed diet with junk off the shelves, which some people do. So this was me in my element when Bill and I lived in Portugal for many years, and I grew all our food. Just the most phenomenal experience, but at the moment we don't have that opportunity. So I grow food indoors, and I'll show you how I do that. But when we continue to improve the fertility and the crop productivity, you know, this looked maybe like a patchwork quilt, but trust me, the food was delicious, you know. And I only do veganic gardening. I don't use any compost from an animal. I make, you know, and just use green mulch. So nowadays, where we are here, I don't have that opportunity. So what do? I sprout inside, and every day our sprouter is filled with mung beans and, oh dear, I'm sorry, I have no idea who that is. Mung beans, lentils, chickpeas, aduki beans, microgreens, radishes. You can grow all of them, and if you don't grow these sprouts, you are missing out hugely nutritionally as well. So something to think about. Our Human Ecology Project diet. We, as I said earlier, we don't use any oil. I have my own personal reasons for that, but even so, it's just my own personal choice. Macrobiotic people, some do, some don't. I get all the oils, the omegas that I need from seeds and nuts, as does Bill. I haven't used oil for over 2 decades. And, you know, I don't need to go through this pyramid because you're all absolute experts on it anyway. So when I look at the dietary recommendations from, sorry, that moved my notes here. My dietary recommendations come, like most of you, or all of you, from teachings of macrobiotics, mostly TCM for me, from being very young. And when I used to teach the seasonal flow of yoga, I would change the dietary principles and everything as well, of course. Macrobiotics is, for me, the only thing that ever has made sense in my life, seasonal flow, seasonal living. Now, when I wrote that last book, Go Vegan, I'm trying to bring the world to the table. And I'm not going to bring the world to the table with macrobiotics for all seasons. I know I'm not, because many people say, oh, it's too tight, it's too this, it's too that. It's how we live. We love, if you were to see my kitchen right now, it's filled with glass jars of every bean and grain under the planet. We eat very simply. But I'm cooking and I'm training chefs for royal families, and I'm doing private cooking for, you know, big business people who have very rich tastes. So I adapt my dietary principles from macrobiotics, but obviously I'm adding different foods that I wouldn't necessarily eat myself. I mean, we don't load up our diet with cashews and nutritional yeast or different things like that. But yes, I do use that for clients, because to get them off of cheese and dairy and cream, it's just wonderful. So the dietary recommendations, as you see on the Human Ecology Project that just passed there, is the way we eat, which is very, very simple. So I always say to people, you know, develop easy skills. It's not about willpower, it's about skill power. And when you start to incorporate more grain and beans and vegetables and legumes into your diet, you can become an ace chef so quickly. And another thing is as well, people think you're at the kitchen sink all day. Well, might as well not bother putting the pots and pans away. Here they are again. I'm not at the kitchen sink all day, every day. I cook once, cook 2, 3 times. Sometimes I make a big pot of minestrone, does us for 3 lunches. I cook rice that lasts 4 or 5 days, short grain brown rice, I keep in a glass container, because I'm a hugely busy person, but I have nutrient dense food, whether it's been stored for 3 or 4 days. I don't have time to cook from scratch every day. And that's the truth of the matter. So I try and encourage other people to do exactly that as well. And when you have the motivation, you don't need the willpower. Go back to your motivation. Is it your health? Is it the devastation to the environment? Is it the cruelty to the animals? Just always keep thinking, why am I doing this? You know, what's my motivation? So I always say many people think they have a kitchen because it came with the house, right? And this is so true. People don't use their kitchens. The kitchen is the nerve center of the home. And I maybe about 14, 15 years ago, I started running this course, 4 weeks to vegan. And it was really fun, because the people would come 4 weeks in a row, either a Saturday or a Sunday. And week 1, they would learn 4 breakfasts, week 2, 4 lunches, week 3, 4 mains, week 4, 4 desserts. So 16 dishes. It was fantastic. Plus it was coupled with education. They were kind of cooking and learning and chopping and cooking along with me. And it was the most successful program, actually, I would probably say, that I've ever created. Haven't been doing it obviously since COVID, because people aren't really, you know, traveling so much now, and most things I'm doing are online. But it was super fun, and they get educational handouts. They're learning about, you know, environmental work. Of course, we base it on macrobiotics as well. But we always say to people, when you come and learn yourself, you become a lighthouse. So you become this bright light that's being switched on, and then you can help other people. So we always encourage anyone that comes on our classes or courses, you've got to start teaching. You've got to start sharing this information. You've got to start sharing what happened to you. What was your experience, you know? And it's so funny, because mostly they always say, I can't believe it. I never in a million years would have believed that I had no interest in being vegan, and now I'm vegan. You see, so for me, that's hugely successful. So we can assist so many people around the world. And our flagship program that Bill and I teach, our online, it's online now, obviously, Macro Vegan Health Coach course, we've got students now in 28 countries. So we have lighthouses in 28 countries around the world, and it's hugely exciting. They're doing great work. Some of them are cooking teachers, some do counselling, some have opened restaurants. You know, they do a multitude of different things. Eating a vegan diet is not difficult, as we all know, right? I mean, people think about it, they think in their head and can't really, I say, stop thinking, just do it. Don't sit and think about it, just get up and do it and start. So I absolutely love 1 grain 10,000. I mean, it just speaks volumes, right? And Georgia Shawa brought macrobiotics, as you all know, to the USA from Japan. And that parable is something that I try and explain to everybody constantly. So referring to that 1 single grain, when it's germinated, it gives birth to 10,000. And when we follow nature's example as a guiding principle, we can't fail, you know, and we can find true health and happiness just by following the path of nature, and it's giving us continuously all the time. So we always say to our students, if anyone gives you something of value, you should be prepared to return it and go back out and do that 10,000 times. So whole grains for everyone. I'll just run through this quickly. I'm conscious of the time. If we didn't feed the grains that we were growing to feed all the livestock, we could feed the whole world, okay? Now, I create recipes sometimes for, there's Action Against Hunger, and people have this myth, oh, it's so expensive to eat a diet of vegan food, it's so expensive to live macrobiotically. So they asked me to do a week's menu, and they gave me £5, and I created soup and grain and bean dishes for £5, and I had to do it myself, of course. I ate the whole week for £5. 16p for a portion of beautiful short grain brown rice porridge in the morning. So we don't need to get caught up with expensive products, and then we don't also have to get caught up with, oh, but it's so difficult, the time to cook. This isn't even cooking. If you think about that soup, right? It's warming. It's actually just warming, right? I mean, if you think about it, you can buy the red pepper. If you even want to have it chopped ready, you can buy the corn off the cob. You can, you know, chop an onion and garlic. You don't even have to chop it. I say to some men that come to me for cooking classes who want to just do this and make enough and store and freeze the rest of it. So you don't have to be a biochemist or a cordon bleu chef to be in the kitchen and make delicious food. And these recipes are all in my book, Go Vegan. The same with desserts. You know, I use aduca beans a lot. I freeze these in portion sizes too. So you know, you can just be so creative with ideas and make your food delicious. Lentil curry, it costs pennies to make, and you know, we all know lentils are one of the oldest cultivated legumes, and you can do amazing things with them. Red, brown, green, red, make patty, make endless opportunities to do things. And then mung beans, oh my goodness. I mean, you know, 1 kilo bag was £2.25, and I did this for Action Against Hunger. So there was 8 cups of beans in the pack. I used 2 cups of beans, and that made 24 burgers, because remember, they double in size. I served them with sweet French fries, a few pennies, not much. So if you think about it, you can get unbelievable volume from food by just buying the raw materials and making it in your kitchen. And this has to be one of the most cost-effective recipes I've ever created. So whether I'm training chefs for royal families or movie stars, or creating recipes for Action Against Hunger, there's nothing new. It's the same ingredients. I just have to make them look expensive and delicious, and I add some cashew cream or whatever. But I mean, really, if I was to say to them, you know, that beautiful courgette and leek soup you're enjoying, which you would probably pay a fortune for in a restaurant, they're using it down at Action Against Hunger, and I made it for £1. So it's just this whole myth that things are expensive. Applesauce and these cakes, of course, I have to develop things for events, Christmas, birthday cakes or whatever. But again, you know, they're not expensive, and it's a one in a you know, Bill and I are not big cake people. You know, we love applesauces and cantons and fresh fruit and stuff. But these are wonderful, and people enjoy them. And people, who doesn't like cake, you know? So it's my passion and pleasure every single day to speak to the world, and I'm never afraid to speak out. You know, I speak to audiences, whoever asks me, and I always have to say to people, you have to do what feels right for you. You have to, you know, empower yourself, and as I say, be an activist, because when you speak your truth, you never have to remember what you say. And, you know, my mum and dad had 7 kids, 6 girls, 1 boy, poor brother, you can imagine, 6 of me in the house. And, you know, we're all the same. They're just such they're my biggest fans, if you want to call it that. They just want to share everything that I share with them, because they've all got incredible health because of what I teach. So how lucky are they? And they help and share it with other people. So, you know, Bill and I always say that screaming and shouting and all the street theatre that's out there about veganism does not work. It does not work. Education is the only way we're going to change the world. And if we think back to the time of Copernicus, right, everybody thought impossible to convince everyone that Earth revolved around the sun. So you see, that's what makes me excited, because I actually do believe that the world one day will go vegan. So there you go, that's my little story, and I hope it was helpful, and I thank you all for listening. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen. There we go. That was me, that was my little story, people. There you go, I have the same story every day, it never changes.
That was well done. Very nice presentation.
So I'm
Let's
still
see
not,
if we,
sorry.
go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
still don't know what brewer's yeast is, sorry.
I don't use brewer's yeast, I use nutritional yeast, which is just a yeast that's
Are
grown
they
on
different?
molasses. It's deactivated, it's not an active yeast. So it's
Do we
just,
have that? Do
and
we
it
have that
adds
in
a
this
cheese, it adds a cheese flavor, cheese taste to many dishes for people. It's actually wonderful for getting people, I mean, the biggest addiction that we see people with is cheese. And that's understandable, because as you all know, it's got opiates in it. So people find it very difficult. They can actually usually do everything else, but I can't get past the cheese, Marlene. I can't get past the cheese, you know. So nutritional yeast is a great little cheese flavor additive for them.
Thank you.
So I have about 5 minutes left, right? If anyone has any questions.
I have a question. Do you hold cooking classes? Are you in Australia or England?
We're in London, Sherry, just well, not in London, we're in Surrey, about 40 minutes outside London right now. Yeah, I'm doing, I'm going to be starting a new series, actually. Very kind student in Canada. I had an online course that I created a long time ago called Weight Loss Nature's Way. And she changed her life with it in 2008. And wrote and said, Marlene, I would like to give this gift to you and Bill for your human ecology project to raise funds. I would love to design your course into a book. Isn't that fantastic?
Wow,
So
that's
wonderful.
wonderful.
And it's
Now,
so, the book is so beautiful, I can't believe it. It should be ready. Well, I'm doing some edits just now when I get time on it, because obviously she's taking all the modules, and I've said, you know, if you refer to me in video X, well, of course, there's no video, so I have to keep going through the chapters. But what she's done is so beautiful. She's taken all the modules and she's split them into all the recipes are in one chapter, all the health tips, because I have everything in there about hormones, because I am so passionate about teaching women's health. Sorry guys, men's health, because they have hormones too. But my program, The Natural Woman, that I used to run, is written within the Weight Loss Nature's Way book. And that's how she changed her health. So I teach the whole thing about the 4 hormones that make you gain weight, the 3 that make you burn fat. And this is all about experiencing the concept that it's not a diet. Dieting is out and healthy eating is in, you see. So when you get this understanding of these 7 hormones, you can break the weight loss code forever. Your fat burners will be burning, and I swear it works, because people all over the world have done it since 2008. Men, women, a guy in America lost 110 pounds, and they don't put it back on, you see. And it's just based on
are you teaching in person, or are you teaching on computer? Are you teaching online or in person?
No, I'm teaching in person. People come here.
Oh, okay, in Kabook, you said, or something?
No, in London, outside London.
Oh, okay, I thought you said a certain name. And
No.
Bill, is he also your husband that teaches too?
Yes.
Yeah,
Bill,
I want his Facebook.
Bill Tara, my beloved Bill. Oh my God, how lucky are we? You know, we met in California. We were both, I'll just tell you very quickly, we were both divorced. We both said never would we get married again. And I was teaching, nothing to do with macrobiotics. I was teaching in California. Bill was teaching in California. Can I have 2 minutes to tell the story, Gnat?
Of course.
Okay, so I'm listening and I'm thinking, oh, you know, when you just just listen to somebody and it sounds like yourself. And I just thought he was so phenomenal. He was speaking from his heart and everything. And then I was speaking, and because I'm Scottish, they asked me to speak about freedom. Because of course, William Wallace, you may know William Wallace, freedom, Braveheart. Yeah, if you don't, it's a movie, right? So I was speaking about financial freedom, freedom from ill health, you know, relationship freedom, all sorts of stuff. You'll never believe it. Guess what Bill Tara's name is? William Wallace Tara. And we both knew that very day. I said, Bill, I hate to tell you this, but you know what? We're going to get married. He said, oh, I so didn't want to do that again. I said, no, nor me, but we went to Hawaii and got married. That was over 20 years ago. We have the best time. It's like we beat as one heart because we both feel the same about the environment, everything. So, I mean, we're very, very lucky, right? Very lucky.
I also looked online to see what classes you offer online because I'm in Massachusetts, you know.
And of course, Bill Tara's very lucky because he has my food every day. I push him off his chair because he's not completely motivated like me on the yoga mat every day, right? So he's 80 soon. And I keep saying, you see, when you're 90 and 95, you'll even be better than you are now, than you are when you were 60 when you met me. So we have good fun.
Great.
Very good.
Well, thank you for having me, Gnat. It was a pleasure. And
Well.
this morning, just before I go, I'll let you know, guys, I started at 6 o'clock. I have a food delivery this evening, and the menu was roasted red pepper chickpea korma, stroganoff, nori maki rolls, miso broth, skinny soba noodles, lemon mousse, chocolate aduki bites, and lasagna. I mean, how do you feel sorry? Me, no one else, only me. Kit and Bill can't keep up with the washing up. He's a nightmare.
We'll be right over.
So I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you for listening, and thank you, Gnat, and take good care of each other. Put your right hand on your left shoulder, everybody. And then put your left hand on your right shoulder. And have a big squeeze, and that's a Scottish hug from me. Okay.
Thank you, Marlene. I mean,
Thank you
Marlene.
so much. Bye, everybody.